Hello, this is Spanish Tax Calculator, a site for free and relevant information about the Spanish tax system. This is Juan Carlos Maruenda. I'm a Spanish lawyer, tax advisor, and expert in property law, construction law, uh, in, forming part of the team TLA Lawyers. Right now, we will talk about the taxes related to when renting a property in Spain. So, in a separate tutorial, we have talked about how to declare taxes in Spain as resident. We were explaining in a separate tutorial that when you are resident in Spain, you have to declare rents coming from Spanish properties in the general land return or land revenue, the income tax return declaration in the yearly one that is done every year. But right now, when you are non-resident in Spain, you have to declare in a different way the incomes and earnings received from renting a property in Spain. We would like first to talk about the formalities that you have to follow up when you are renting a property in Spain as and you are non-resident. It's very important for you to check your tax situation as non-resident in Spain because if you own a property in Spain, you have determinate formal tax obligations uh, depending on if which will depend in the case that you are renting the property or the property is used privately without be affecting to a economical activity as renting. Talking about formal obligations or as owners of property in Spain, the first thing that you have to take into consideration is that the Spanish system considers that even if the property is not or for the periods of the property is not rented, maybe there is a popular misconception about people thinking that if the property is not rented, if there are no earnings, no incomes received from the property, then it is not necessary to declare in taxes anything about the property because it's used privately and there are no incomes. This is a mistake created probably because the default of information from the owners because in case that the property is not rented and you are not a Spanish resident, you are living in your country of origin, you are not residing in Spain permanently. In Spain, there is the obligation from these owners to declare every year what we call income tax for non-resident for the imputed income. Which is the imputed income? This is a concept which is sometimes difficult to understand. The imputed income is a income that the Spanish tax system considers that even the property is not rented out, that the owner receives. It must be a disputed concept during years and tribunals, European commissions, European tribunals, etc., claiming that people being surprised that why people they have to pay for a property, a secondary property, as is the case, when there is no incomes obtained from that property. But the Spanish system has always won all the cases, confirming that it is not a discriminatory treatment because first Spanish they have to pay for the same and second the main residence is never taxed in Spain. If you are living in Spain permanently, your house, your permanent house, where the house where you are or the property in which you are living permanently is exempted of taxes. What the Spanish government, what they are taxing is a secondary residence, which is the case. In this case, if you are non-Spanish resident, you are living permanently of your country of origin. So this is the properties in Spain. In Spain, it will not be your permanent residence. It will be a secondary residence. So, as well as for the Spanish residents, as owner of a property in Spain, being non-resident, you are liable to declare and to pay for this tax. Okay, so explained the imputed income. Right now is the moment to know how the Spanish tax system calculates the income, this imputed income, which is theory. In theory, is something which is not um, detailed. Purely the way in which the Spanish system calculates this imputed income for uh, properties that has not been used as a way of obtaining for obtaining incomes is the following. The Spanish system calculates the 2% of the cadastral value of the property. The cadastral value of the property, you can find it in the council tax bill that you receive yearly for the council tax of the property. So this is valor cadastral, means cadastral value. So with the cadastral value, for example, imagine that it is 60,000 euros. The Spanish system considered that the 2% of the cadastral value will be the income that is receiving this property during the time in which it's not rented during the year. The way to present this tax is every year. The taxes for the current year are presented the following year. So, for example, in the imputed tax calculated in this way for 2021 must be presented on the 22 before the end of 22. Okay, so this is the first obligation as owner of a property in Spain. So when you are renting, which is the case, you have to present independently of the imputed income, which goes separately of the rent obtained of the taxes obtained for the rent. You have to present the declarations of the incomes obtained by rent in the quarter or immediately after the end of the quarter of the period in which the property has been rented. So imagine that the property is being rented in the period January-March of 2022. Then you have to declare that income on before the 20th of April 2022. Here you can find a resume of the formalities that you have to follow up in order to fulfill with the tax obligations in case of that you are renting a property in Spain. So right now we go to the example, which are the consequences, the difference between non-resident in Spain but citizen or resident in one of the EU countries, and the way to calculate the income tax for rent in case that you are resident for one of the countries outside the EU, for example, USA, UK, Canada, Russia, and etc. In our calculator, you will find up to 3 properties in which you can rent or you can obtain the rent in Spain. Considering, for example, one of them which is renting or not renting, we will go to the example using first the EU resident calculator. So starting for the property number 1, imagine that you are the owner of a property 50%. We go to the cadastral value of the property and we detect that the cadastral value is 60,000 euros. Then you have rented out the property 100 days this year, and you have obtained 9,000 euros as rent for the full year. So as you are the owner of the 50% of the property, the corresponding income that you have is 4,500. You have then there is a garbage collection expenses on the year 150. No problem. Please consider in this calculator. No problem to indicate the full amount of the garbage. Our calculator will consider this year 150 euros. All these concepts and prorated that you prorated for the time. Our calculator will prorate it. The calculator will do that. So we indicate the full amount, 150. The same for the council tax. Imagine that the bill for the council tax for the whole year is 650 euros. So we indicate here. You have paid during all the year 1,200 euros. And the house insurance, you have paid, for the house insurance, you have paid 650. Electric, water, etc. You make the addition for all the invoices paid for this concept, imagine that, for example, it's 3,000 euros, then a question that you have to consider is in case that you have a mortgage that has been used in order to buy the property and is coming from a Spanish bank, then you have the option to deduct the interest that you have paid during the year from this mortgage, and this amount will be reduced, will be used as to reduce the Spanish tax. So imagine that you have paid 900 euros for a mortgage coming from a Spanish bank from the property. You have spent 600 euros because there was a repairing of air condition or some furniture or home appliances in the property. You have paid 500 euros for the tax advisor to help you to declare these taxes, and also you have paid another 1,000 euros for the agent in order to help you to market the property and to obtain the rent. So in this case, you make the addition of the full amount paid for these professional expenses, and you which will be also be part of the deduction side of the tax. It's very important to know that the expenses of the acquisition of home appliances and furniture, for example, table, chairs, bed, can be used as a reduction of the tax in terms of amortization. I'm sorry, that I will explain you right now how it works. But imagine that you have bought for beds and tables and chairs and etc. sofa around 6,000 euros this year. So obviously you cannot deduct the full amount, but you can be deducting 10% per year as amortization, which obviously must be prorated for the time in which the property has been rented. I will explain you how, but it's important for you to know that all these expenses can deduct on taxes for rent in case of Spanish income tax, but only for, as you will see later, only for residents in the EU countries. And these reductions will not be considered as for residents in countries which are out of the European community, European Union. Okay, so the maximum prorated deductible amount of this rental activity period is 2,000. What I mean is all these concepts makes a total addition of 7,150, but prorated to the time in which the property has been rented, then it gives us a result of 2,058 euros. Please consider that this amount is not a simple calculation on the prorate of the time. There are some things that has been taken into account to create this formula. For example, the professional expenses goes 100%, and the others goes by amortization. It's a complicated formula, so don't make this calculation simple. Just prorating this per 100 days, because you will not get this result. Is something slightly more complicated. So okay, right now that we have the maximum prorated deductible amount on the rental activity period, we have to say that if this amount was higher than the income obtained, the 4,500 euros that you have obtained from the rent, then the excess should be deducted in the 4 following years of taxes, but you cannot deduct more than the amount that you are receiving on earnings on the tax. So as this amount is lower than the amount of rent that you have received, then there is no excess to deduct in the following years. Once we get that, the rental tax that you have to pay for the earnings that you have obtained on the property in Spain, being non-resident, will be 463.94, and the imputed tax, which is this income that the Spanish tax system considers that the property has when non-rented, will be 82.94 So it goes, obviously we have the option to make a property a secondary property that we can property 2, property 3. So at the end, this calculator gives you the final amount to pay of taxes when you are renting a property. This is an example, as you may see, from properties rented by owners who are non-residents in Spain, but residents in a EU country. But the case on non-residents in Spain and residents in countries outside of EU, for example, USA, UK, Canada, etc., the calculations are different because there are different tax treatment starting from the point in which the rent obtained from the tax. But now we will consider we will calculate how much tax to pay when you are non-resident in Spain, you own a property, you rent it out, and you are resident or citizen from a country outside EU, for example, USA, UK, Canada, Russia, etc. In the same case of the example, we introduce the percentage of the ownership, the same cadastral value, 100 days rented, and we have obtained in rent 9,000 euros. As you see, from the first side, the first thing we see is that we have obtained a rental tax higher than the one obtained in the case of the residents in the EU, and also the imputed tax is higher.